In this week's episode, I'm taking out the brand new AEA Precision Airguns Zeus in 58 caliber. This thing is a beast. Stay tuned to this episode to see what this thing can do. Welcome to this week's episode of Colorado Airgunner. In this episode, I am taking the 58 caliber Zeus to the range, and holy cow, I'm excited to share this with you guys. This gun is amazing. I kind of consider it the new king of big bore of even the Zeus world. And you might notice in the description of this video and the tabletop review, I called it the world's most powerful air gun. And I'll get to that in a second. But I went out to the range and I shot a plethora of slugs from Mr Hollowpoint. All the way from 302, I just wanted to start light, all the way up to 650. And I like to get a lot of slugs because you can never tell what's gonna work. You just don't know until you get out there and you shoot different slugs through it. So I got a bunch of each and went out and shot them. And as you'll see in the video, the groups vary from probably 12 inches to less than an inch. And the only way you're gonna know which one of those slugs is gonna work best for you is to get out there and shoot them. What I can do here is give you a good starting point and put you in a range of slugs that'll probably work great for your Zeus in 58 caliber. But you're gonna have to get some and you're gonna have to go out there and test it. And we came up with a couple of winners. The one that shot the most accurate and right at the most foot-pounds pretty much as well was the 610 grain. And if you go to Mr Hollowpoint's website, it's listed as the 555. But what he did was basically make that hollow point a little less shallow. And so it weighs about 60 grains more now. And it shot lights out. Probably less than an inch at 50 yards, and I have great hopes for it at further distances. I was only able to shoot out to 50 yards in this video because I could not figure out how to get my booster pump to work. It's super simple and easy to use, but it was just one little thing. I didn't have the actuator hose hooked up to the actuator, and now it's working beautifully. So I'm gonna get back out there with the booster pump and do a bunch of shooting. I've got a lot more slugs coming, but incredible potential for this gun. And what do I mean by this is the most powerful air gun in the world? Because if you're comparing only muzzle velocities, it's not. So throwing my old man specs here. This is what I'm talking about. And this is why I think the 58 caliber is the most practical of these guns for most big game hunters that want to shoot out past 30 to 40 to 50 yards. Let me explain why. The 72 cal was shooting a 630 grain bullet at 970 feet per second. The foot-pound energy on that was 1320, so that's a nice foot-pound. The 58 was shooting a 610 grain bullet at 917 feet per second. Now keep in mind that was only at like 3,900 PSI. So I think I can get that up to like the same speed as the 630 out of the Zeus, around 970 or 980 or something. Anyways, 72 cal was doing 1320 foot-pounds. This one was doing 1140. And that's at the muzzle. All right. By the time, now here's why these results are the way they are. The ballistic coefficient on that 630 grain, because it's so short and so big around in diameter, was 0.029. So that's the ballistic coefficient. The ballistic coefficient on the 610 grain, because of the better sectional density, the smaller diameter, and the longer bullet, was 0.051. So at the muzzle, the 72 is doing 180 foot-pounds more. So you're gonna be like, well, that's the king. But the foot-pound number at the muzzle's irrelevant, because when was the last time you shot a big game animal 1 inch from the muzzle of your gun. You don't. I mean, most guys aren't taking shots inside 50 yards. Maybe, you know, you're doing some really close on feeders or something like that at 20, 30, 40 yards. But let's look at 50 yards. Because the ballistic coefficient is so much better on the other bullet, at 50 yards, the 72 has already dropped to 1,020 foot-pounds. And the 58 is still holding almost 1,000. So just at 50 yards, the 58 has caught up to the 1,000 in power retention. All right, let's go out to 100 yards. At 100 yards, the 72 is holding 800 foot-pounds of energy. At 100 yards, the 58 is holding 860 foot-pounds of energy. So already at 100 yards, that big, fat, open, flat bullet in the 72 is already producing less power than the 58 caliber. At 100 yards, the 58 is holding more foot-pounds of energy. And let's just go out to 150. That's kind of where, in my mind, I draw the far end range of hunting with big bore air guns on big game. At 150 yards, the 72 cal has dropped over 50% of its power and is doing 620 foot-pounds of energy. The 58 caliber at 158 yards is doing 750 foot-pounds. So at 150 yards, the 58 is doing 130 more foot-pounds of energy. That's crazy, and that's why I'm so excited about this 58. When I heard they were coming out with the Zeus in 72 and 58, I immediately went 58. And I think most people like 72 because of that big number, but not only is it holding more energy downrange, but it's shooting a lot flatter, way flatter, holding more energy downrange, and I've found it to be more accurate. So yes, the 72 does more foot-pounds, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone from getting into the 72. This is how I look at the two versus each other. The 72 is kind of one of those point blank, close range guns. 20 to 50 yards is going to be your shot, and you want to hit them with the most power. But like I said, at 50 yards, you've already almost equaled it out. So anything beyond 50 yards, I would say get the 58. Now, the nice thing is you don't have to get two guns, or you don't have to settle on one gun. You can just switch the barrel out from 72 to 58. And I think the pellet shop's even going to offer them with both barrels. So you just have both right from the get-go. But the 58's king in my book, and this is the caliber I'm going to take to Idaho to elk hunt with, and I'm going to shoot a big giant pig with it here in June. So anyways, enough about that. We're going to go out to the range. I'm going to show you how varying these groups can be and which one I settled on. And I think you guys are going to love this gun. I think it's an incredible gun with incredible ballistics, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. All right, so I'm out here at the range and getting ready to do some slug testing and shooting with the new AEA Zeus 58 cal. Like usual, something always malfunctions. I got my booster pump out here, super psyched to use it. You know, it's the way to be able to shoot at high pressure for long periods of time, and it is not working. So, and going presents a little challenge because this tank's at 4,200. And like I said, I was expecting to be able to boost it up to 45 every shot, or every few shots, and that's not going to happen. So I think what I'm going to do to salvage the video is I'm going to just go ahead. I'm going to shoot from 4,200 down to 4,000. I'll take a couple of groups, hopefully, with that, and I've got a fresh tank that's got 4,500 in it, so I'll pop that in and I'll shoot it down to 4,000. And we won't be getting like max velocities today, but what I'm hoping to come away from this with is I've got about 10 different slugs up here from Mr Hollowpoint, so as long as I can shoot, I might just do 2-shot groups today just because I'm low on air. Just as a disclaimer, that's one of the problems with 4,500 PSI guns, man. You gotta have pretty much a booster pump or a bunch of tanks or sitting there with a compressor. So anyways, I'm gonna try to just hopefully shoot 7 or 8 groups with different projectiles, and what I'll at least be able to do is narrow it down. I've got probably 10 of each weight between the lightest is 302, the heaviest is 777 grains. I'll start light and I'll work up shooting groups. What it'll at least allow me to do is know which 2 or 3 to buy more of. You know, I don't want to invest in 50 or 100 rounds of one weight and find out the gun doesn't like it, and every gun's different. So still going to do some testing. We'll get some relative results between bullet weights and shapes and sizes, and not so much an objective group size, because it is really gusty today. It'll go to 0 and then it'll go to 20 miles an hour. It's in and out. So anyways, let's go ahead and start doing some shooting. I do have the Great Commie on there, and I've got the lab radar set up so we can get some numbers. I was doing my preliminary sighting, and these 302s were going to over 1,200 feet per second. I mean, that's supersonic. You got a lot to that little zip, but didn't get a lot of good accuracy out of it. I think it's too fast, so I'm gonna step up now to that's the 302. Let's go to the 350s and see what it thinks about those. Turn this lab radar on to capture. Alright, last shot was 1,200 feet per second with the 302. And there you can probably hear the wind just picked up. Literally went from 0 to like 20 miles an hour in a couple seconds. So I might just give this up and not shoot in a crazy gust anyways. Alright, give this just a second to die down. So like I said, relative groups to each other, I'm not going to be worried about that's 1 inch or 2 inch too much. We just want to get a comparison, which one's the most accurate, especially in these conditions. It'll be good to know. All right, camera's on the target. I'm gonna throw my first group down. I might only do 2 shots just because. All right, so 4,200 PSI. And let me just make sure my lab radar is on capture. All right, this is with the 350. I've got one in there. These are sweet looking little bullets. This would be a great light end bullet for it if it's accurate for whitetail or hogs, or where you want to shoot something light, flatter trajectory. I'm guessing this would expand like crazy. All right, we'll go one more since we're still right at this same pressure. I'm not really getting a group. I want to get it on the shooting seat so we can at least get a group, but that one was 1125. I'm guessing these would be going over 1,200 feet per second at 4,500 PSI. There we go. At least it's on the shooting seat, so I'm not gonna adjust it. I'm gonna throw one more in there just for a group. These are like 3,900 PSI groups now, probably, after a couple shots. But I just want to see if it likes them. Well, they're about 8 inches apart, so I'm going to say no. I think we gotta go heavier. I think this is just a little light. You know what? One more. Finish off this tank. See if that was a fluke. I really wanted to light these 350s for my light end flat shooting bullet out of this gun, but let's try one more. Okay, that's about a 1 foot group. So I'm gonna say negatory on those. 302s, it was doing about the same thing. Let's go up to let's skip the 412s. That's not much of a jump. Let's go to the let's give the 433s. I'm gonna put a fresh tank on it and move on to something 400 grain. I'm gonna skip. Let's go to the 450s. Alright, fresh target, fresh tank. This tank also 4300. I wasn't worried about having them max topped off because I've got the booster pump, but now thanks to the booster pump not working, that was, I don't know, that was a horrible group. I mean, it sprayed those. Alright, Mr Hollowpoint 450 at about 4,300 PSI. 450. Same spot, upper left target. It's a really tight fit to it, but I'd like to tight. 1,069 feet. And these fit really snug for some reason. 1,069 feet, 450 grain. Got about a 40-mile-an-hour gust right now. Give it a second. Hasn't been a constant wind, it's just gusty. It'll drop to nothing and then hit 30 miles an hour now. Alright, kind of a little chill right now. We'll go ahead and take this shot. Nice swirling gusty wind. Those are the best. Those are the best. Swirly and gusty. Swear to God, I feel like I live in Wyoming now, man. Alright, I think it's about as good as we can hope for right now. It's about 1.5 inches. Throw one more. 1,065 on that. Do one more. Might only get through a couple of these, man, before I'm down below 4,000. This thing is an air hog. This 450s fit snug, and I think it really likes it. Alright. Can't even take the shot because the target's waving around, moving so much. Alright, Mr Hollowpoint 480. Going over 1,000 feet per second. Almost 1,100 feet per second. That's ridiculous. Alright, we're going to go top right this time. Way low. It's alright, we're just shooting for a group. Doesn't really matter where my point of aim is versus point of impact. I love this scope, man. This helix is so bright and crisp and clear. I mean, where have you been all my life? $1,016 on the 480s. 2020, 2016. That is another horrible group. Might as well make it a 3-shot group. That's about an 8-inch group. Didn't like those. Let me try something heavier. That's the 480. Let's go up to the 600 grain. We might only have a couple of group shots left here. All right, let's move it way up. Everything's low now. It's gonna be a sloppy target. All right, 600 grain. Now, I know these are heavy for this caliber. Oh, yes. All right, dang, that's a big bullet. Holy cow. That's a monster. I'm gonna shoot a fresh target. Dial this lead sled up. Don't judge me about the lead sled. I came out here thinking I was going to be shooting 100 rounds with the 72 and the 58 today, so I wanted to save my shoulder and get good shots. Dang, I like those 600s. This gun's nice though, man. It's got a really smooth, consistent cocking lever. I mean, I'll say this about the trigger. When you first engage it, you feel and hear a little creep, and then it's a pretty crisp pull right after that. I mean, it's a hunting trigger. It's not a match trigger. DJI Pocket 2, man. Handy little camera. That's what I'm talking about right there. Alright, how many I got left? Definitely ordering more of the 600s. Probably get some more of the 480s just to shoot those again. Then I don't care where I'm at with air. That was 915 still. I'm sure these would be close to 1,000 feet per second, maybe 980 with a full tank of air. Got a little reprieve from the wind right here. Yeah, it likes those, man. It likes those. That's about a 1-inch group at 50 yards with a 600 grain Mr Hollowpoint doing 920 feet per second at 3,700 psi. So yeah, another 800 psi. Guarantee it's going 1,000 feet per second. Dang, I like that, man. I like that a lot. All right. This one I think might be really good as well. So right after I shot the groups with the 600 grain, I shot the groups with the 610 grain, which was by far the most accurate. And my SD card was full on my camera. So I didn't get me shooting from the bench, but here it is, me laying down the 3-shot group with the 610s. And as you can see, it is one hole at 50 yards. So I think that accuracy is gonna hold all the way out to 150. And I think this is gonna be a legitimate long range, big bore, big game hunting rifle. I think out to 150 yards, no problem. Now that all depends on you and how much you practice and how confident you are in your shot. But as far as the gun platform itself, I think the 58 is definitely gonna be the long range shooter. So here's those shots. Here's the incredible accuracy from this gun with this slug. Talk to Mr. Hollowpoint and he'll make you up some of these and you guys will be on your way. All right, so there's the 2-shot group with the 600s. I can squeeze my thumb in there between them, so it's probably a little over an inch, center to center maybe. Actually, yeah, call it right at an inch, center to center. For a 600 grain slug going about 930 feet per second at only like 3,700 psi. And then there's the group with the 610s. And pretty sure that's 3 shots. 1, 2, 3. Or it might have just knocked out that piece. I'll have to look back. But I think that's 3 shots with a 610 grain slug at 50 yards. That is not bad. And then there's, now the top 4 were without me moving it. That bottom one, I hit low. And I wanted to bring it up. I can't even see this. So that bottom one I hit low, and then I moved the crosshairs and then shot those 4 right there. So that's not a great group. That's with the 650s. But maybe going another 100 feet per second, those might tighten up. I'm not sure. But for sure, I mean, that is just tack driver accuracy right there with the 610 grain. Really good accuracy right there with the 600 grain. If I wanted more expansion, I'd go with the 600 for sure. If I was a little more worried about accuracy, I'd go with that. I'd probably go with that either way, honestly.